Hey everybody, welcome to the JW Review live stream. I am John Maple. Before we get started with today's guest, I just want to give a quick shout out to all of the people that have been watching and liking and commenting on my videos. I absolutely greatly appreciate it. You guys are awesome. And a special shout out to my patron, my one and only patron, Apostate Sarah. You are awesome. Thank you so much. Couldn't be doing this without you guys. I greatly appreciate it. So today's guest is a friend of mine and fellow YouTuber. He has his own YouTube channel named Mentally Diseased, and he is here today to talk a little bit about himself, and we're going to get to know him. So help me welcome to the stream, Germ from Mentally Diseased.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me on. I'm very excited to be here.
Yes, thank you for being on. I'm excited to have you. So, the first phase, just talk a little bit about yourself, I guess your ExJW story. I know you have a video out there, but for those who haven't seen, give us the Cliff Notes.
The Cliff Notes of my life. Where to begin?
It's a lot to cover, huh?
Yeah. So, hi, everybody. I am Germ, and I am mentally diseased. I'm technically a great big imposter of an ExJWer. You heard it here first, because I was never baptized and yet still shunned. So I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. I wasn't like coming from a very long line of witnesses or, second, third generation, all of that. I was none of that. My parents had just converted when I was born. So in some ways, I think that was a little bit different, though, because I always saw the people. I don't know, and tell me if this has been your experience, but I found that the families that had long lines of witnesses, they were kind of used to Armageddon not coming. Is that right? And, they believed it and everything, but my family were like, Armageddon is right now.
Yeah.
Like they were like QAnon levels of just bracing for Armageddon at any moment.
Well, I came from a third generation, right? So that probably happened when my grandma first joined. My grandparents, they were probably like, "Oh my God, Armageddon! Hide, kids! Get ready." Yeah. But as the years went on, the paranoia of it never really went away, but it just wasn't the big focus, I guess.
Yeah, and like my parents converted and they were practically ready to start building bunkers. And, I was born with a go bag ready to go. So because of things like that, like they took everything the witnesses said very seriously. We were studying the Revelation book when I was very young. It's the first book I ever read. How great is that?
Wow. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I really like the Revelation book. I think it's cool. I love all the artwork and stuff in it.
I thought the artwork was way too realistically scary. I hated it.
Yeah. It definitely is way too much for kids, but I guess I messed up. I don't know. It's one of the very few. I got rid of almost all of my Jehovah's Witness literature. But I hunted down a copy of the Revelation book because I just love showing it to people and it blows their minds. But anyway, so because of things like that, like education was not taken very seriously at all. Everything was very much like, gotta do the doors, gotta do this, gotta like get you baptized right away. You got to, if you live long enough, if we live in the system long enough, you've got to go to Bethel, but I doubt it. So
instead of Disneyland, remember, go to Bethel instead of Disneyland.
Instead of Disney. And that's true. We never took vacations. I have a whole video about that. But so school was a thing that I just didn't really get a whole lot of. They put me in public school really briefly, up until about 5th grade. And they ended up pulling me out in 5th grade because they thought that I was getting around too much bad association. And we were also moving around a lot. But my dad's reasoning in particular was, well, Armageddon is like going to happen next week. So who cares about your high school diploma? So I'm also certified stupid because that is the last schooling that I ever did. They enrolled me in like this school. It was like this real shady fake school in a town called Alamosa here in Colorado. It was an online school, and they gave you a computer and they gave you these discs with school work. But the draw for it was that you could count your Jehovah's Witness activity work as schoolwork. So anytime spent going door to door or giving talks or sending the meetings or personal study, that counted as school work. So I didn't bother with the discs or the tests or anything. I didn't do any of it. I just like Uber dubbed. I went out in field service all the time.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So, but that was all okay though, because I was really into it. I had dreams.
Did you find yourself missing school? Missing like the friends at school? Any friends that you had made or anything?
No, not really. I'm a lazy son of a bee, so that was all pretty cool to just not have to go to school and not have to do a lot of this stuff. And they moved us to out in the boonies in the middle of nowhere, so it's not like I would have had very stimulating conversations with the rednecks out there. So, but like I said, it was great. I was really into it. I had these dreams. I was really interested in becoming a writer. It blew my mind when I found out that you could actually be a writer for a living. You could write books that way. You could write books and like, that's what you did for your job. And I was like, oh my God. So I started pursuing that, until I got in trouble for it because I was spending too much time writing. The elders sat me down and, the writers are bringing glory upon themselves and you have to stop this. You need to start focusing more on Jehovah. Anyway,
that infuriates me. Like you can't imagine. It's always, oh, you have interest in something. Let me squash it. Let me squash it right now before.
Yeah. Let's get you who have passion. We got to stamp that right out. But I diverted those interests and I decided I wanted to be like a writer for Bethel. I'll go write the Watchtower magazines. That's great. I can still write and do all of this stuff. So I was pretty like nose deep in the Kool-Aid most of my life. Very firm believer. And when I started getting to the age of, when they start expecting kids to get baptized, in my area was around 12 or so. Does that sound right for your area?
For my area, most of the people in my congregation got baptized in their early teens, maybe like 14, 15.
Okay.
I didn't get baptized until I was almost 22. So I was definitely, everyone was looking down on me.
Bad association.
Yeah, definitely. I was not, I was getting pressure from everyone because everyone else my age was already baptized except me.
Yeah. I feel like I need to talk about this because there's like this stigma around unbaptized people within the witnesses. And I feel like a lot of that carries out with ExJWs too. Like they don't take people very seriously if they were raised in it, but not baptized. I see this all the time. They weren't really a real witness, which I call bullcrap on because I had the same experience everyone else did. Possibly worse in some ways because I chose not to get baptized and there was so much pressure, so much like anytime I went to the Kingdom Hall after so long, it was like all anybody wanted to talk about is, well, why aren't you baptized yet? The end's coming right around the corner. And if you don't get baptized, you're not going to make it. You got to do this. You got to do that. The reason that I didn't get baptized right away, because I really wanted to, But around that same age, you're going through puberty.
Yeah.
You're very confused about everything. And that was when I started to realize that I was gay. And I was starting to get like nocturnal emissions and very interested in the underwear section in the JCPenney catalog. You know, the internet wasn't a big thing quite yet at this time for me. But it shook me because I had been such an exemplary Jehovah's Witness up until that point. And here was a thing that I didn't know how to deal with. And I kept looking through their publications, and you know, witnesses have the answers for everything. How do I deal with this? How do I deal with these thoughts? And I'm looking in the Young People Ask book, and everything is telling me that basically two things. Masturbation leads to homosexuality. I had no idea what masturbation even was.
I think the entire male population would be homosexual if that were true.
I know. And I didn't like this was like, I really didn't understand what masturbation was. I thought that like it was just touching it in any way possible. I've told this story before in my video, like when this started happening, I stopped holding it to pee because I thought that was masturbation. And until my mom got really mad that she was cleaning pee off the walls. So
remember, no sleeping with pillows between your legs, because that's also bad.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that they said was masturbation leads to this. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go anywhere near it. It's lock and chain. And the second thing was that you can change. They kept saying that you can change, people have changed, but they never really said how these people changed. They just said that people did, which wasn't very helpful. So I set aside a lot of my personal study and stuff at this time, and I totally prioritized trying to de-gay myself. You know, I'd start looking up online, not for porn, but for like how to
like scare yourself straight kind of thing.
Scare yourself straight. Yeah. What is it? Conversion therapy.
Yeah.
I was looking for conversion therapy, and how, like, I obviously couldn't go to a place and go get, like, if I could have gone to get conversion therapy, I would have done it. That's how serious I was about changing this, because I wanted to get baptized. I wanted to go to Bethel. I wanted to do all of these things.
Sorry, all worldly's comment just it's pretty hilarious. He didn't even know what it was until his dad brought it up.
Told me not to do it, explained what it was. I thought it sounded awesome. I think your dad must have been a lot more descriptive than my dad was.
Sorry to interrupt.
No. So I looked up the methods that they do for deconversion therapy and tried to figure out things that I could incorporate at home. So I got like the safety pin, and I kept a safety pin in my pocket. And anytime I would have a stray thought, I would jab myself in the thigh. And like really, really hard. I was trying to associate any kind of thoughts that I had that were wrong with pain and just make it horrible for myself. And as everyone probably knows, when you're sexually repressed, there's a lot of stray thoughts to be dealing with. You know, you go to that, especially homeschooled. So I see nobody all day except like my family. And then I get to see people a few times a week when we do Jehovah's Witness activities, going to the Kingdom Hall, and even like the ugliest brother in the world, if it looks fine as hell running that mic around, you know, and I'm just like jabbing, which is terrible.
And this was around what age?
12, 13, 14.
Okay.
I mean, pretty much all of my teens, I went through this. From like the moment of puberty up until my later teens, when I eventually gave up, because none of it was working. I jabbed myself, and you know, I prayed and prayed and prayed. I spent all my time praying and stabbing myself, and nothing was working. But I was also like terrified to talk to the elders, because like they'd said in the publications that people had changed, but I just didn't trust the elders. I didn't want, I knew deep down that if I talked to them about this, that I would be in trouble. So I just dealt with it on my own for a while until several years. And I fell into a really deep depression because nothing was working. Jehovah wasn't answering my prayers. And because I was like so focused on this, my personal study and stuff was falling behind, and I wasn't baptized on top of it. So like I was getting targeted by everyone else in the congregation as being like bad association and all of this. At some point I'd been marked for something stupid. It was for my dad was really abusive on top of all of this. He's a very narcissistic, manipulative, just hateful person. And he beat the crap out of us kids. And so that was one thing that we did actually end up going to the elders about, because he was like beating us black and blue and then kicking us out of the house overnight and starving us.
Wow.
And like sometimes we'd be kicked out of the house for days at a time and just left to like sleep on the porch. And my mom would have to sneak food out to us. So we went to the elders about this, and they basically just dismissed us. You know, your dad is the head of the house and he can do whatever he wants. If you're misbehaving, he can discipline you however he sees fit, you know, spare the rod, spoil the child, all that stuff.
Did he have any quote unquote privileges in the congregation?
No, my dad was a horrible witness, and he's still a witness and still has never had any privileges. He's never been a ministerial servant, nothing. Like when I was younger, I was a better witness than my dad was, but you know, side with that asshole, I guess. Yeah, but I think while they were there, another witness had also complained that like we had Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring on DVD. So somebody complained about that. So they started picking through our stuff, and they're like, Star Wars is bad. This is bad. Disney movies are bad. Lord of the Rings are bad. And la, 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 la. Like, we see here what all of your problems are. This is why your father has to discipline you so much. And you need to get rid of all of these things. So we went through like this mass purging because of course, everything was our fault. It couldn't possibly be the man's fault, the man in the house. It was our fault, everything. So we went through a purging. And all of this stuff. And I started to get like real questionable about a lot of things, like how did paradise work? And I had a lot of questions about paradise. You know, like I just wanted to know how paradise would work, because the way my mind was working at this point was because, you know, stabbing myself with a pin wasn't working. Praying wasn't working. My best shot at this point was just getting to paradise where I would be fixed, because if he's fixing, you know, blind people in paradise and, you know, crippled people are walking in paradise, then surely he's going to fix my gay problem in paradise. So,
and that's kind of what the Bible Teach book shows, no? Like, you remember the first couple of pages, it shows those images of like the people resurrecting and the girl's just dropping her, you know, cane, or what is it, the walkers, because she can walk now, and the blind guy's throwing out his sunglasses because he can see now. So that's what they taught for several years. Decades.
Exactly. So I wanted to know how this is going to work, because I need to know when I can not be gay anymore. Please, God help me. But the more questions I asked, like they always tell you that, you know, if you, it's an open door, you know, any questions you have at all, ask us. But when you do actually ask them a question that they can't answer, it's like you're apostate instantly. For any kind of question, especially if they view you as somebody that should be this, you should be that, you should be this. Why are you asking us these questions that we can't answer? So I got marked for that. And so people would stop talking to me. I lost all my friends, and, you know, living in a small town and being homeschooled. And the only time I really got to talk to other people was at the meetings. That was devastating for me, to sit there alone in the Kingdom Hall, excited to finally see my friends, and they all ignore me.
Was it, because I know I've heard a few marking talks, and it's usually the case where it's like they'll literally say everything possible so that you can understand who they're targeting without them actually saying your name. Mm-hmm. Was it that kind of thing? Like everyone was looking at you as the talk was happening and they just knew it was about you?
Yes. And I knew it was about me. And even if they weren't like very direct, you knew that it got around in the gossipy circles. Because the witnesses are super gossipy, especially.
No, witnesses don't gossip. You're insane. That never happens.
Yeah. So I think that moment when I got marked was my final downfall with the witnesses, because it took, I had no motivation left. I had no friends to talk to. I had, nothing. Praying wasn't working. Nothing was helping. So I started to, like, we eventually got the internet. This was like late 90s, early 2000s. So I started up a live journal blog, and I started meeting worldly people on the internet and talking with them. And they would try. I'm still friends with a lot of these people, actually, that I first met. And they would they recognized I was in a cult and tried to talk me out of it and reason with me. And I'd argue circles around them. I was the most irritating person on the planet. And gosh, I don't know where to go with my story from here.
Would you say that at this point, because you were going through all this depression and nothing you were trying was working, and the elders would come and throw everything out of the house that might be making Jehovah sad, and yet your dad was still, doing what he was doing, and you said you kind of mentally checked out at this point, so you were done with the witnesses around this time, or not yet?
Not yet. I wasn't done with the witnesses for several years after I left, because I still believed for a very long time.
You were a homie.
I was a pomie for years.
Wow.
I have looked up like old forum posts of me, like, 10 years after I left, arguing with people about the Bible and defending Jehovah's Witnesses. It's super embarrassing. I was that guy. I was that guy in the YouTube comments.
I was that guy with a YouTube channel, JW Defense.
That's right. You were. Yeah.
How embarrassing.
Got 3 Lloyd Evans videos about you.
Oh, he destroyed me.
Yeah. Well, I hadn't checked out on the faith, but I had checked out. I was starting to check out on the organization. I was starting to think this is clearly a flawed organization. They clearly don't know everything that they think they do. Because I was starting to think, well, I really do think that gay people are born this way because nothing is working. And if Jehovah is real, he wouldn't just ignore me about this. He would see the pain that I'm going through. He would not ignore me. So I think that I'm right in this. I don't think that I'm wrong. I think Jehovah loves me the way that I am. And this became a non-negotiable thing for me. So in addition to meeting like other friends online, I started to like meet other gay men online. And it was eventually when I'm going to try and condense this as much as possible, but I eventually did meet someone. I invited them over when my parents were supposed to be at a circuit assembly. I had told them that I was going to the next weekend circuit assembly. I had like this whole arrangement I made. And I had him over, and I wasn't intending anything to happen with this person. I was just wanting to meet, because I'd also never actually met another gay person before. So I wanted to see if like they were really like me, or if they were really like possessed by, I had it in my head that they would be possessed or something by demons. So I wanted to meet one and see for myself. And it was when he came over, my mom, who's nosy and always knows everything, she came back from the circuit assembly because she didn't believe me in my lies. And she found this person with me, and she knew instantly. She knew. I didn't, like, she hadn't caught us in the middle of anything. It was nothing like that, but she knew what was going on. And so she left, I had to send him home.
Did she ever suspect that you might have been gay, or had you not come out to her yet?
So there's some things that I'm skipping over here, but she had found my search history on the internet before.
Okay.
So she had seen
any underwear in the search history.
I still wouldn't look at porn. I still wouldn't do that. I was just going to like dating websites. I think the big one at the time was gay.com, which was mostly chat rooms. So she saw me on gay.com in the chat rooms. So she'd seen that stuff before, and like I'd been thrown out of the house over it for a few days blah, 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 blah. So she knew. And then when she came home and saw this person, she knew exactly what it was. So she left and went back to the elders. And I don't think that she meant this. My mom's always been very good at heart, and she didn't mean this to like discipline me. She did this because she didn't really know what to do. And she wanted to save me. And so she went to the elders to ask them, like, this is what just happened. What do I do? How do I save my kid?
You were how old?
I just turned 18. I was 2 weeks being 18.
Okay.
And of course, which I could have told my mom this if she'd listened to me, the elders were of no help at all.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise. But they were very like, I think the elders just had it in for me, and told her, like, you know, if he doesn't change, then you have no reason to speak to him again. You need to kick him out of the house. You need to get rid of him until he changes. And that's what she did.
Wow.
That's what both my parents did. So the next time I saw my mom, she came back with a bundle of letters from all of my friends who had not been talking to me anyway. And it was letter after letter of people basically disowning their friendship with me. You know, those witness letters quoting scriptures about this and that. And you need to come back to Jehovah if you want to speak to us again. And so I'd never talked to any of my friends again. And I was ousted. I didn't have anywhere to go. So I ended up calling back this guy that I had just met. I didn't really know.
The guy that she caught you with?
Yes. Like, okay. First time meeting someone online in the like early 2000s. Scary. I ended up calling him because I didn't have anyone else to turn to, and he did let me move in with him. And that's like a whole other thing that I won't bore everyone with here right now. I'm sure there's other things you want to talk about. But like the rest of the story is on my channel.
Okay.
As far as that goes. But that was the last of my being a witness right there.
And that's after doing investigation on the actual organization. That's what kind of got you to be full POMO.
Well, like I said, I was POMI for years after leaving. It was like for probably 10 years or so after leaving, I was POMI. I just believed that the organization was corrupt. I thought that they had the truth, but the organization was corrupt. And I was kind of waiting. I was waiting it out because I thought for sure that they would change their mind about gay people. They would realize they were wrong about this and start accepting gay people. That's what I was waiting for. And the moment they did, I was going to go back, which still hasn't happened.
Hold your breath. It's only gotten worse.
I was wrong there. So I kind of like, I went on my own little spiritual journey. I figured, you know, what is God? Why do I need to have a relationship with God with an organization as the middleman? Why would I need to do this? Like if God's really real, he would love, like, what if I was on an island somewhere with no access to witnesses? Would my relationship with God be invalidated because there were no witnesses on that island that I'd never heard of? No, there's no way. If I was communicating with God and reading his scriptures, then I could have a relationship with him without them. So I started studying the Bible, and I actually read the Bible from cover to cover, and I started researching other faiths. I started seeing how actually a lot of other faiths have very similar beliefs to witnesses. Their beliefs aren't as unique as they pretend like they are. And a lot of it just fell apart for me from there. And then my mom eventually left witnesses for other reasons. She left because of, there was a Dateline special about the child sex abuse in the 2000s. Barbara Anderson was on it. And that hit my mom really hard. Really, really hard. And she said, there's absolutely no way I can be part of an organization that hides this kind of thing. And she was also sick of the way that she was trying to get out of her marriage with my father and wasn't able to, no matter what he did, no matter how abusive he was, it was never okay for her to leave. So it just was a perfect storm for her to leave. And she actually fully apostatized before I did. She left, moved out on her own for the first time in her whole life. She lived on her own at this point, and she started finding these ExJW support groups. And at the time it was on like meetup.com and things like that, and like little forums and stuff. And she kept sending me all of these links to things that she was finding, you know, like, oh my God, did you know this? Did you know that? And a lot of it was like stuff I acted like a witness about. I was like, I mean, like even the child sex abuse thing, when she told me about that, I didn't really care. How callous is that of me? I can't believe myself about that. But I was just like, when she told me about the child sex abuse, I was like, yeah, but what about the Catholics? The Catholics do it. The Catholics do this. What makes that different than the witnesses? Like, I was fully indoctrinated on that point.
Wow.
And I think she kept feeding me all of this information. And it wasn't until I found out about the United Nations, about them being part of the United Nations for however many years in the 90s, and then changing the generations teaching. Both of those things completely blew my freaking mind. And that kind of sent me finally to waking up fully mentally.
That's good. I'm really happy to hear that. And I assume you have a relationship with your mom again, right? You guys are on speaking terms and everything's
great terms. She's basically the only person in my family that I still talk to. My brother's kind of in and out of the witnesses. He's having some problems there because he's still very attached to my dad, who is a very devout witness, because his abusive nature is very empowered there. And he is
to be an elder, pretty much. Gotta know how to abuse your power.
Yeah. He's since remarried, which I found out about on Facebook, and that's the last I ever talked to him. I refused to talk to him again. And he keeps dragging other people in the family into it. Every time I turn around, there's someone new on Facebook posting pictures in a Kingdom Hall that defriends me a couple of weeks later because they converted and know that I'm an apostate. So
that's the worst.
Yeah. But it's okay. Like for me, it was growing up in that environment, and with my background, family was kind of, I hate to say this, but a little bit, I knew it was conditional. So family was not something that I ever got very attached to. I always knew from the moment I found out that I was gay that I could lose everyone without any notice at all. So I didn't really get very close to any of them. Yeah. So it doesn't really hurt me that much. It's okay. If they want to be witnesses, go ahead.
Well, at the very least, you have, your mom there, which I think it's every apostate's dream is to wake up their parents and have that relationship with them again. So I'm really happy that you got to at least have that with your mom.
And in my case, it was my mom that woke me up. So even though I'd been ousted, it was her that woke me up. So thank you, Mom. I'm sure she'll be watching this and scrutinizing every word I say to make sure I tell the truth.
All right. Well, thank you for telling us your story. If you guys want to hear the full story, it is on his channel, Mentally Diseased. So let's move on a bit. Now let's get to know you personally. Now that you're out. Now that you're out,
not as personal as it gets. I think we already covered the personal bit.
Even more, all the happy stuff. So, like what are your interests? What are your passions? What are you passionate about? You had talked a little bit about writing. Is that still something that?
I love writing. I've always loved writing. Like fiction writing I just love writing. It's something I've always done since I was a teenager, ever since I found out that it was something that you could do with your life. I have not been very good about it since starting YouTube. I've had trouble with it because for me, YouTube uses the same parts of my brain as writing does. Doing YouTube is a very creative process for me. I do a lot of research on my videos and, scripting and making sure that everything I say is in order. And, by the time I'm done with that, and that with the editing too, by the time I'm done with all that, like my creative juices are tapped. So sadly, I haven't been writing as much as I used to.
I find writing the absolute worst. I went to school for video production and filmmaking, and there was an exercise that they had us do. It's just like, all right, 10 minutes of silence, start writing. Literally anything that comes to mind. I have written like 3 words, and it was the longest 10 minutes of my life. I could not for the life of me think of anything. I'm terrible at it. Terrible.
I'm disappointed in you, John Maple.
Well, I'm disappointed in myself, so.
But it's okay, because I mean, I do, like I said, it's the same parts of my brain that go into YouTube. So I am still writing. It's just now I'm also performing my writing. That's kind of how I've like reconciled it in my brain. I was always kind of bummed that like YouTube's never what I wanted to do. I hate being on camera, but you know, I'm writing articles basically and performing them on camera is what I'm doing. So, you know, scratch those itches.
Do you find that you're becoming more and more passionate about creating videos, or is it still writing and reading?
Yes, I'm getting a lot more passionate about the video making. It's a lot of fun. It's a little scary sometimes because I'm a big introvert, and I have to like try and not think about how many people are actually watching. I have to just pretend that I'm pitching it into the void and ignore a lot of the feedback, or I'll be paralyzed with fear. But yeah, I love stuff like that. What else do I like? I like playing video games. I like books.
Books and video games. I can agree with video games. Books, I don't know. I think being a JW scarred me when it comes to reading. It's like literally just reading articles and, you know, the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation. It's like, I hate reading now. I hate it. Although I'm trying to force
myself something fun to read. You got to find something that's like a binge-worthy TV show to you.
Yeah.
Stop reading seriously. That's the key. Someone in the chat, Kenneth Corey in the chat just said video/film is definitely replacing text as the medium of mass communication. And I think that they're on to something there. That's something that I've come to sadly have to reconcile with this, because I always wanted to be a writer and just like live that dream writer life of living in a hermit's hut and sending my papers out to a publisher and they deal with all of this stuff. And I think that is going away. I think they're right. Everything's about video and film now.
Yeah, very true. Which I love. I absolutely love film, video, anything related to watching stuff. Count me in.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So speaking of film, what films, movies are you into? What's your top 5?
Okay, top.
And I swear to God, if you bring up The Last Jedi in any way with a positive spin, I will kick you off the stream. I've had enough with Alt-Worldly.
I don't know if Alt-Worldly is still here, but I hate that movie. I hate it so much. But okay, so my top films. For films, I'm really depressing with movies. I like puzzle box movies and movies that make you like leave an impact on you, that like after you see it, you're shell shook.
I've had a couple of those.
Yeah. So top 5. I've got, so The Hours is a favorite movie. I love The Hours. The Fountain. Sorry, The Fountain. The Fountain is a movie that I highly recommend to ex-witnesses. It's a movie by Darren Aronofsky, who you probably know from Requiem for a Dream. That movie was instrumental for me because after leaving Witnesses, I had a really hard time with coming to terms with the fact that you're going to die, because you think you're going to live forever. And that movie framed death in a way that was very beautiful to me and made me okay with the fact that I'm not going to live forever in paradise. So The Hours, The Fountain. I have a third one that I always put right here, and I'm drawing a blank right now. I don't know. Mother, I really like. That was a great movie. I love like weird movies like that. Donnie Darko.
Every movie you're mentioning, either I haven't heard of them or they're just very weird. Like Mother.
Mulholland Drive. I love Mulholland Drive. That's one. Have I listed 5 yet? That sounds like 5 to me. I like artsy movies like that.
Okay.
Hereditary. Kenneth Corey just said Hereditary. I love that movie too.
Oh, I haven't seen Hereditary. but I have seen the one that he made after that, about the cult. I forgot what it's called.
Midsummer.
Midsummer. Yeah,
That was fun, too.
that one was pretty good.
That was really good. Hereditary for me is what Demon Problems were like as a witness. So it was kind of a triggering movie.
I think that's why I still haven't seen Hereditary, because I still have that, you can't watch movies about demons or else you'll get persecuted by demons.
I don't recommend that movie to ex-witnesses, not for a while. It's just about as demonic as it gets.
Okay, I'll stay away for a bit. I don't want to have nightmares. Another good movie that I would recommend for ex-witnesses or even current witnesses is just this is, the cliche that all ex-witnesses say, but The Village is such a good...
We had a conversation about that on the podcast recently about The Village, so what I was talking about, we did a podcast on Uncultured about something like this, and we were bringing up The Village. The Village is very interesting to me because something I've noticed is the world in general hates that movie. That movie is so panned by everyone in the world, but ex-witnesses love The Village. It's so interesting to me.
I've always liked it. Why do you think it is that everyone hates it? Do they just think it's like, oh, that's unrealistic? That would never happen nowadays.
I think that they don't have that base of reference, that experience in their life. And I can understand why ex-witnesses love it so much, because that is really what being in a cult is like, is living in the village. You're really cut off from everything and you have no idea what else is going on in the world. And then you wake up and it's like, holy moly, the whole world is like 200 years ahead in the future than I've been living in.
Well, also that's how Amish people live like today. So it's not so far-fetched. I don't know. People just, I found the pattern that people just like to crap all over M. Night Shyamalan for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I like his work.
Phenomenon.
Yeah. But moving on from movies. Video games you had mentioned. Now, we've played video games a bit, and I have to say I walked into it thinking, because I've played games since I was 3. I'm like the platforming king. I have every Nintendo console ever made. And I went into this thinking I was going to destroy you. You were going to cry yourself to sleep that night. And it was quite the opposite. I don't want to talk about it. I don't know why I brought it up. I'm sad.
Pathetic.
I will say one thing. I've never been mocked by anyone so hard than playing with you. It's great. It's the most fun I've had losing.
Yes, he is talking about Tetris. I am a competitive Tetris master, which a lot of people are surprised that competitive Tetris is even a thing, but it is a thing, and I love it, and I'm very good at it.
Wait, you actually competed?
I have, but we don't talk about that.
Oh my god, you straight up hustled me. I do not play Germ.
Real competitive Tetris before, yes.
Okay, well that explains so much. The day that I win, I will be the happiest person in the world.
Yeah.
What are your favorite games? Do you have a specific console that you're super passionate about?
I'm a Sony fanboy. I love Sony consoles. I like a lot of different games. It depends on my mood. I like games where I can be creative, like The Sims or SimCity or something where I can plan and like create something really cool I really love. And I like some RPGs and things like that. I'm a really big fan of the Silent Hill series, Final Fantasy. Chrono Trigger is a great game. I like Super Mario RPG. I just love video games.
Oh, Super Mario
Uncharted,
RPG.
someone said, Miles Verde said, I love Uncharted. Naughty Dog and The Last of Us is like masterpiece of gaming.
Oh, Uncharted. I have never owned a PlayStation console. I'll start with that. Confessions. I've never owned a PlayStation console. I was allowed to borrow one from a family member, and I started playing the first Uncharted, and within the hour I was bored. Does it get better?
Where is the leave the chat button? How do I get out of here?
Like I know
How
it's great
dare
because I've seen clips and I've seen people play it. I just couldn't get into the first one. I don't know what it is.
The first one is rough. It's rough and it did not age well, so I don't blame you for that at all.
But
The
it's a must
second
play,
one,
that series.
I think so. I think so. I mean, it's like Indiana Jones is a video game. So it's really cool and cinematic, and it always each entry gets a lot better. And they're really good for backseat gaming. Like backseat gamers feel like they're watching a movie. They're really entertaining. That's
Okay.
right. Alt Worldly says talk smack about The Last Jedi, but won't even play Uncharted. Shake my head. I agree.
Okay, it's not that I won't play Uncharted. It's just that, I don't have a console. I'll buy one. I'll get my PS5 soon.
Good luck.
Aaron Bolt wants to know no sports games.
No, I don't care about sports at all. I'm sorry. I don't watch sports. I don't play. I don't know how it even works. I'm sorry. I'm gay. I'm gay. Like the closest thing to sports I get is RuPaul's Drag Race.
The only sports games that I'm into are either the Mario Karts or the Mario Tennises.
I like Mario Kart. That's fun.
Oh, Mario Kart is super fun. Oh, okay. Let's play Mario Kart then. Ooh, I'm gonna destroy you in Mario Kart. I could guarantee that. I will put money down. Okay. Conveniently don't have it. All right. Well, when you do, let me know.
Okay.
All right. So, is there anything else that you want to tell us about? Things that you enjoy? Any bands, music you want to talk about? Any hidden skills or talents?
I'm talentless. All of my precious talents were squashed as a young Jehovah's Witness. I used to play violin and I was really good at it, but that was another thing that witnesses squashed.
Violin?
Yeah.
Oh wow. How far did you get in learning the violin?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, this was in the period of when I was actually in school. I was really good at it in school and I loved playing it, but had to get out of it.
That's a shame.
Those witnesses hate creative people, man, until they need to make a video. Then they want you to be creative all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's kind of, it kind of reminds me of the point that you said before. You were passionate about writing, but they were kind of trying to squash that until you started refocusing. Oh, well, maybe I can write in Bethel.
Until I can do it for them. Well,
I think that's the witness mindset, because I've been wanting to do video production for a while, and my parents discouraging me. Oh, well, that type of environment is not good. Oh, but maybe you can do that in Bethel. That's like the go-to. Maybe you can do your whatever you're good at, but in Bethel.
In Bethel. Not ever for yourself or for anyone else except witnesses. And it brings to mind, so I'm sure everyone knows by now, Chris Stuckman came out as ExJW. And he had a great video about it, and it was heartbreaking. He showed like his video, because he had another channel before what he had right now, and the witnesses made him stop. He had another quick movie reviews thing, and he showed the video of him like saying that basically I have to stop doing this because he didn't give a lot of details, but he looked really depressed and he looked really Jehovah's Witness, and like knowing like his background there was really heartbreaking, because I think all of us have been through something like that, where we had this really strong passion, something we really loved, that the witnesses took away from us for one reason or another.
Yeah, it was pretty hard to watch, and it's sad that he felt like he couldn't be honest about the reason why, or else he might get in trouble for even that. It's very tough. But all right, so let's move on to our final phase, shall we? You cool with that, or is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I'm wearing, I'd like to point out my hat, everybody, please. This is The Last of Us right here, which is a game that John Maple should go play.
Yes, that's another game that I've been trying to play.
The Last of Us is amazing. Go play it. That's all.
All right. So let's move on to the Q&A. I'm hoping that everyone watching right now just has a giant list of questions that they want to ask. I know some people have already started asking questions. Let me just look through the chat real quick. Let's see. So Ben Fisher, the recent comments by the King of Babylon on Twitter regarding your quote lifestyle choice. Do you get these kind of comments often, and how does it affect you?
That's a good question. I think that I'm pretty sure I know Ben. Ben, are you an uncultured person? Bobjamin? That's who I'm thinking Ben is. So yes, I do get things like that a lot. And honestly, those kind of comments that he's specifically referencing to are some of the nicer ones that I get. I gotta say, if you want to grow a thick skin, go and be a gay person on YouTube. The people are vicious. I've had people threaten me with death. I've told people that they want to see my brains come out of the back of my head, that I deserve to be shot. You know, like
Wow,
a
suck,
lot
man.
a lot of really horrible things. So yes, I do get that a lot. And honestly, what that was not as bad as what I usually get.
Wow. That must be hard. That's why they always say, like, never read the YouTube comments. It's just triggering to a whole nother degree.
Yeah. I mean, you get tough real quick.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So the next question comes from Miles Verde. What's the last book you've read?
That's a good question. I do not know. So 2020 was probably the worst year in reading that I have ever had. I just could not focus on reading the whole year. I was so stressed out about everything else. Right now I'm reading The Stand by Stephen King. And I mean, that's like a 1,200 page book. So that's been keeping me occupied for a while.
I see books that are like 300-400 pages, and I'm suffering. I'm suffering just by seeing that. 1,200 pages?
Yeah, it's a tough one. And the chapters are like at least, my Kindle's telling me they're 2-hour long reads per chapter, which makes it even
oh my God,
more intimidating.
That's terrible. All right, let's see. The next question. Kenneth Corey, how excited are witnesses about the pandemic? They're very excited. They're I think they're rejoicing over it.
I think some of them are, yeah. I think a lot of them see it as like one of the signs of the apocalypse, which I don't understand. I don't think a lot of witnesses understand their own theology about Armageddon, because like the world is supposed to hit peace and security before Armageddon happens. It's not going to be chaos like it is right now. So it's weird how witnesses get really excited the more chaotic things get when their theology teaches basically the opposite of that.
Yeah, it's always a look at all this chaos that proves that we're telling the truth. And then, oh, look at all this peace and security that proves we're telling the truth.
Yes.
Look at our increase in numbers that proves we're telling the truth. Oh, look at this decrease in numbers that proves we're telling the truth. They're contrarians to the max.
Yes.
It's very annoying. All right, a question from Alt. In reference to your latest video, do you think a lot of celebrity ExJWs are actually Pomey?
I do. In the same way that I was Pomey for a while. And I think that a lot of them, I think a lot of them just haven't done the work. They haven't done the research, probably because they're busy people, I'm sure. And I can understand that. And they don't want to risk losing their families, or, you know, the way I talked about it in my last video was kind of like implying that it was their fan base that they were afraid of offending. But I mean, realistically, we know that they're afraid of losing their families. So I can understand that to a degree, but I don't know. I think they're Pomey. I think they're as Pomey as I was 10 years ago.
Most likely. Yeah, I mean, who are like the big famous JWs now, or ExJWs?
So Luke Evans is probably the most recent great big celebrity to come out with. I mean, there's a lot. There are a lot more than you would expect, because they don't ever talk about it. They kind of laugh it off and move on to the next topic. But Luke Evans and Michelle Rodriguez, I think, are some of the two more recent notable examples.
Yeah, I know Michelle Rodriguez is very critical of JWs.
She
It
is.
doesn't seem though like she does anything to bring awareness to it besides the stray comment here and there.
I really, really wish we had a Leah Remini of our own. I really wish that somebody would like take witnesses to task.
I think Prince was like the biggest JW. Unfortunately he, passed away still a devout JW, but I'd like to think that he would have woken up eventually.
I wish that I have like this obsession with Michael Jackson. I made a video about Michael Jackson. Probably it's been over a year now, but I'm very proud of that video, and I'm sad that so many people got a lot of people got the wrong idea out of that video. Because I really do. I'm very interested in him as like a person and his psychology. And I wish that he had gone to therapy and gotten some help after he left Witnesses and really dismantled, because I think that he struggled so much with what Witnesses had done to him and what his father had done to him and all of that. And I think that he could have been a very powerful voice if he had done that.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, moving on to the next question from Aaron Bolt. What do you think about JW stories of gay brothers getting happily married to a sister?
I think it's really sad. I know that they like to talk about that like it's a success story, but it's not a success story. Eventually, that person is going to. I mean, that gay person that married straight is either going to be miserable their entire lives, or they're going to leave and come to terms with who they are, and they're going to end up leaving a wife behind and children behind and shattering a family.
I've actually heard personally of someone that I know personally that in their congregation there is a gay man who's married to a lesbian sister, and they're kind of, in a way trying to help each other out. And I think it's pretty sad.
It is really sad, and it doesn't work. It doesn't.
Yeah. So many sad stories out there. I hope that they get to wake up one day and just live life to the fullest.
I hope so too.
Let's see. Oh, this is a good one. Did you manage to wake any JWs up?
Reportedly, yes. I've gotten a few comments on YouTube that something I had said or something or another had been the tipping point for them, which I really appreciate comments like that, because it makes me feel like I am doing something worthy, but I also don't want people to give away their accomplishment, because I think that, no matter how smart I am or how like logical I am when I talk to you, if you're not ready to wake up yet, nothing I say matters. All of that comes from within you. It's when a person is ready that they wake up, because they'll dismiss any argument if they're not ready. I don't think people should give away their accomplishment of waking up.
Yeah, they have to want it. It's the only way to wake up.
They have to want it. Those doubts have to already be there for it to work.
Yep. There's another question here that was fairly interesting. Let's see if I can find it. There you go. I'm 42, and thunder still scares me for about a minute. Do you ever feel that way?
I love thunder. No, I don't.
It's always thunder, huh? It's always the thunder that scares the ExJWs.
I do remember like having moments, especially when I lived out toward Kansas, and there'd be a tornado outside, waking up in the middle of the night, and it's hailing and lightning really hard, and tornado sirens going off. It's like, Armageddon is here. Yeah.
I also love thunder, and it's never really affected me that way when it's like, oh my god, thunder, Armageddon's just around the corner. Mm-hmm. It's the last second of the last minute of the last hour of the last day of the last
millisecond of the last
so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So Altworldly says Donald Glover, if he's a witness too, if he ever stood up, they'd lose their entire youth base. And that brings us to Miles Verde, have you seen the show Community, which Donald Glover is on? They take a jab at the blood transfusion policy.
I haven't actually seen that. Have you seen it? Do you know what they're talking about?
Community, yes, it's a fantastic show. I absolutely love it. It's hilarious. It's on Netflix. You should check it out.
Okay.
Yeah,
I knew that
it's a very
Donald Glover
funny
was
show.
on it and that he played a witness. I don't know what they're talking about with the blood transfusion policy joke, though.
Yeah, he does play a witness, but like they write his witness character like pretty terrible because he's like constantly celebrating birthdays and doing Christmas things and like having girlfriends. So it's like,
I wish that Donald Glover would. I wish that he would, because every time that he's talked about it, you can tell that there is pain there and there's resentment there. And I think a lot of celebrity XJWs have like covert accounts where they watch, like Chris Stuckman was talking about like YouTube channels that he follows and stuff. They've got to have like secret accounts where they're like in among the rest of us. And I feel like Donald Glover is one of those people. And I wish he would speak up. I wish he would. He would be amazing as a champion.
he would. We should make that happen.
Come on,
Well.
Donald. Let's go. Let's do this.
Make us proud. Altworldly asks, favorite band? Go ahead, drop this bomb, Germ. Drop the bomb that everyone's gonna hate you for.
I don't know if I have one. I don't really listen to music.
Yeah, there it is. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't like music.
The most music I listen to is when I'm picking out the music for my videos, which it's weird. It's not that I dislike music. It's just that I've been listening to a lot more of audiobooks and podcasts lately and not really listening to music. So it's hard for me to come up with something. Like my most diehard thing I loved Evanescence like since I was a teenager, and I'll always love them. I love Fleetwood Mac. I love a lot of like more like solo musicians, not so much bands. People like Epa or Emancipator. I love that kind of like chill group music, stuff like that. A lot of Japanese artists, video game music. I love.
Oh, video game music is fantastic. I can talk for hours about video game music.
You haven't played any Sony games. You know nothing, Jon Snow.
How dare you? If you've played any Nintendo game, that's it. You have the best music already. Ocarina of Time, Super Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie. It's all like home run scores.
They're all right, I guess.
How dare you? How dare you? People in the comments shouting Radiohead, which is pretty good. I just started listening to Radiohead.
I hate Radiohead.
Oh my god.
I hate Radiohead. My partner loves Radiohead. Loves them. I think Aaron and my partner would be best friends.
Miles says Muse. Are you gonna crap all over Muse now?
My partner loves Muse too.
At least can we at least agree on the Beatles, like universally revered as one of the greatest bands of all time?
Overrated.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us on the stream.
I agree with Miles Verde that Muse is greater than Radiohead.
I will have to agree with you on that, actually.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just can't stand his Radiohead voice. He's so like,
how is he? Your audio was cut off. Can you repeat that one?
I'm not doing that again.
Oh, okay. All right. So I think we're gonna end it here then. I want to thank the audience first and foremost for watching.
Thank you for joining.
Questions. Yeah, and thank you, Germ. You're the best. You're the best for coming on and tolerating.
I had a lot of
fun.
fun. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone watching. We greatly appreciate your nice comments. And we're getting a shut your mouths.
Shut your mouths. I thought someone saying we need to talk. I got to get out of here. The threats are coming in.
Yes, this is a good time. This is a good time to end. People are starting to get angry. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Germ. And if you guys like this content, if you want to see more, make sure to check out my channel first and foremost, JW Review, and then also Germ over at Mentally Diseased. And thanks once again, and we shall see you, or I shall see you, in the next video. Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Good to hang out.